In this lesson, we're going to continue to look at polynomials, algebraic expressions, and the operations between them. There's nothing new today. Today is just more practice of the things we looked at the last 2 days. So we're going to collect some like terms if we have adding and subtracting, and we're going to expand brackets, get rid of them, if we have some multiplying going on. Okay, just examples, say nothing new. Okay, we're going to look at some examples here right off the bat. So I've got 3x, and I want to subtract 12x. I can do that because they're like terms. They both have the letter x, and 3 minus 12 makes negative 9, and we're collecting x terms. When we collect, when we add and subtract, letters don't change. That's really the biggest common mistake I see, is that people start changing their letters when they're adding and subtracting. And that doesn't happen. It's just collecting things, circles. Now take a look at the next one. 3xy and plus 2xy. Well, 3 plus 2 makes 5xy's. Those are the things that we were collecting. Negative 5x and positive 3x. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2, and we were collecting x things. Try the next one. 5x squared. Oh, minus x squared. Well, that's actually a 1 we know, and 5 minus 1 makes 4x squareds. Those are different from these terms because they have x only, no squared. Negative 4x plus 3x, that's negative 1x. Okay, things we collected. If we look at the next one, we got brackets. And we said yesterday we don't like brackets. Let's get rid of brackets. And we do that by multiplying. There's those arrows again. Multiply. Okay, number times number. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. I've got 1x and another x, so now I've got 2x's being multiplied. Negative 5 times 6, that's negative 30. And I had the 1x, and no more x's, so just the one I started with. When you've eliminated your brackets, when you got rid of them, check, can you add the two things together? Well, I can't in this case because I got a squared and a 1. Even though the letters are the same, the exponents aren't, so I stop. I'll try E here, and give this a pause, try it yourself, see if you can do it, because if you can, you've got this figured out, it doesn't really get any harder. Okay, 2 times x, that's 2x's. 2 times 4, that's 8. End of the bracket, end of that half of the question. 3x times x, 3 times 1 makes 3. I've got 1x and another x, and I've got 2x's, or x squared. 3x times negative 2. Well, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. We started with 1x, and there were no other ones to add on, so just x to the 1. If I examine this one, I notice I've got 2x's minus 6x's. Now, I put the 1 on the right-hand side. I can put the 1 on the left side here, too, if I want to remind myself that it's 1x. 2x minus 6x. That gives us negative 4x's. The 8, well, there's nothing else like the 8, so just plus 8. Same is true of this piece. There's nothing else like that. There, I'm done. That's my expanded expression. We'll try the next one. I see brackets. Brackets are affected by the thing in front of it. The 5x is not actually in front of it. It's all by itself. What's in front of the bracket? Negative 4. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12x. Negative 4 times negative 5. That's positive 20. I don't multiply the negative 4 into 2 because that's the end of my bracket. So I've done that part of the question. The plus and minus signs already separates this question into 3 separate parts, right? The 5x stayed by itself, the plus 2 stayed by itself. We just had to fix the middle. Okay, let's look for things that can go together. 5x and negative 12x. 5 minus 12 is negative 7, and we were collecting x's. Okay. Positive 20 and positive 2, well, that's just numbers. 20 and 2 makes 22. That's it, that's all, because I have letters on the 7, and I have no letters with the 22, so they can't go together. Okay. So we're going to keep going with this idea of brackets. Sometimes when we get brackets, they have a number out front, like in the last one. We had -4, right? We expanded by multiplying by -4. Sometimes, as we've said, you don't see the number in front, which means you can put the number 1 there. And once you put the 1 there, get rid of your brackets, collect like terms, same old, same old. I'm going to come back to this idea in 1 second, okay? So what do I see in front of this bracket? I see a 1. So I got to multiply everything by 1. 1x squared plus 4x plus 3. All right, what do I see in front of the next bracket? Plus, well, there's actually a 1 there, multiply, multiply, multiply. 1 times 2 is still 2. 1 times 5 is still 5. 1 times 1 is still 1. What effect does a plus sign have in front of a bracket? Really nothing, because you're multiplying by 1. Once you get rid of those brackets, collect your like terms. 1x squared and 2x squared. That makes 3x squared. 4x and 5x. That makes 9x's. Plus 3 and plus 1 makes plus 4. We're done. Okay. You guys try B yourselves. Get rid of the brackets, collect your like terms. What's in front of the brackets when I don't see it? A 1. 1 times B, just B, or 1B. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times -2, -2. Oh, missing a number here. Put a 1 in. 1 times 1, 1. 1 times -2, 1 times -b. I'll put all the 1s in the spots where I'm missing them to remind myself there actually is a number there. It makes it easier to do. Okay, let's collect. I got b's. And, ooh, more b's. 1b minus 2 b's. Well, 1 minus 2 is -1. And we're collecting b's. Positive 5 can go with positive 1. That makes positive 6. And -2b squared and -1b squared. So I've got a bunch of negatives there. How many negatives do I have? I've got 3 negatives. What were we collecting? B squareds. There's my expression. If you collected yours in a different order, it does not matter. What matters are your numbers, their signs, and the letters. The order, I don't really care about. Okay, try a couple. Oh, sorry, not a couple more. We're going to try the word problem we talked about yesterday. So we've seen a question like this. We're going to keep coming back to it over and over again. Find a simplified expression, which means I just need some letters for the perimeter and area. So let's see if we remember how to do this from yesterday. How do I find the perimeter? I take my sides and I add them all up. So one of my sides is 3x. One of my sides is 2x minus 4. One of my other sides is 3x. One of my other sides is 2x minus 4. Put it all together. I've got 3x and a 2x and a 3x and a 2x. How many x's do we have? I think we have 10 x's. -4 and -4 makes -8. There's my expression for perimeter. How do I find area? We said yesterday that area is length times width. How long and how wide are these things? What do I do with them? I multiply them. So it's really your perspective, which was your length and your width, but it's always easier to put the small thing first, times the larger thing. And by large, I mean it has more parts and pieces. That way it's easier to multiply. How do I get rid of brackets? 3x times 2x. 3x times 2 is 6. And x and another x makes x squared. 3 times -4, that's -12. We had 1x, just the one right there. And there's my expression for area. Back to the technical questions. What happens if we put a minus sign in front of the bracket? Well, in that case, it's kind of like we did the ones before with a plus sign in front of the brackets. There's actually a number there. This number, however, has a bit more effect. So let's take a look. What's in front of the first bracket? It's definitely a 1. 1 times 2x is 2x. 1 times positive 4, positive 4. In front of the next bracket, what's in front? Well, it's a 1, but be careful this time, it's a minus 1 or a negative 1. Negative 1 times 3x is negative 3x. Negative 1 times negative 5 is positive 5. What does that negative sign do to the bracket? It changes the sign of every term. If you look, this was a positive, now it's a negative. It was a negative, now it's a positive. And once we've got rid of our brackets, let's start collecting. 2x's minus 3x's. That gives me negative 1x's. 2 minus 3. Positive 4 plus 5. That's plus 9. Done. Okay, try the next one yourself so you can figure it out. Put the number in front of the bracket, make it easier. There's a 1 there and a 1 there. 1 times 7. That's just 7. 1 times 3. That's just 3. 1 times negative 2. That's negative 2. Here's going to be a little careful. Negative times a positive. Negative. Negative times a positive. Negative. Negative times a positive. Negative. All my signs changed. And we're going to collect 7a's and minus 4a's. What's 7 minus 4? It's negative 3, and we're collecting a's. 3b minus 3b. 3 minus 3, that means there's 0 b's. Don't have to write down. Negative 2 and negative 1. That's a bunch of negatives. How many negatives? 2 and 1 makes 3 negatives. We're collecting letters. We're actually also collecting numbers when you think about negatives, right? Yeah, last 2. Give them a try. See if you got this. If you get these right, you've got this stuff figured out. So it's kind of as hard as it gets. Okay, I got brackets. Gotta get rid of brackets. Put the number in front of the brackets so we know what's going on there. 1 times 6, 6y squared. 1 times 6, negative 6x. 1 times 3, 3. It was a positive 1, so it didn't do anything. Here's the tricky one. Negative 1 times y. Well, that's like saying negative 1 times 1, which is negative 1, y squared. Negative 1 times positive 6. Negative 6. Negative times a negative. Positive. And all my signs changed in that bracket. That was kind of the key point. Okay, 6y squared minus 1y squared. Gives me 5 of them. Negative 6. Negative 6. That's a whole bunch of negatives. How many negatives do we end up with? Well, 6 and 6 is 12. We're collecting x's. And positive 3 and positive 3. Well, that means a whole bunch of positives, and 6 of them, in fact. There's our answer. Hopefully you got that one. Okay, last one. Put the number in front. Get rid of my brackets. We like positive ones. It doesn't actually do anything. But the other one, the negative one, absolutely does. It changes every single sign. All my positives became negative and all my negatives became positive. Okay, now I can collect things that go together. 8y squareds and minus 3y squareds. Well, 8 minus 3 makes 5, and we're collecting y squareds. Positive 6 and positive 8. That makes positive 14, and we were collecting y's. And last but not least, minus 1, positive 2, and negative 1 plus 2 makes 1. And there we go. We've simplified it. Okay. That's how we can simplify polynomials, and all we're doing is adding or subtracting, but we're putting that extra thing in there, right? The missing number sometimes. Put the number in there to make it easier for yourself. Okay, make things a little more understandable. The sheet's on the website. Give it a try. If you're stuck with something, come see me and we'll get it figured out.